Hello, 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 everyone. Hope you are having a wonderful Friday. I did see that Patty B was on. I can't see everybody because I got to bring my computer in here once JJ gets in here. And then I will be able to see who is actually on today. It is Friday. Hi, Valerie Clark. Nice to see you. Hi, Wayne Griswold and Glenda and Marissa. So glad to see everybody. God's Dozer, what's up? Hope everybody has had a very good week. Hope things are kind of sort of starting to get back to a little bit of normalcy for you. Jean McIntyre and Tony, hello. School has started back in Oklahoma, well, in our area anyways, so we've had that this past week. Other than that, JJ is a little under the weather, so we are going to really keep this to an hour, but we just have not, I have not heard back about that yet, Gina. I am still working on it. So we're not going to be on for a full or a really long time because he's not feeling well, but we haven't been on live in a while and he felt bad, so we wanted to come on and see you guys because we've missed you. So, what exciting, we already have 30 people on. Hi, Kim. So nice for you to come on. We really appreciate it. So needless to say, by the way, since JJ is not feeling well, there is no happy hour drinks. He might be drinking some water. I have my Diet Mountain Dew here, ready for our happy hour. And we have some exciting things that we have got for a couple of fans that we want to talk about. JJ has an exciting thing that he's working on that he's almost done with that we're going to talk about. Do want to let you guys know that spots are filling up quickly. If you want to schedule a call with JJ, the spots are filling up quickly. There's not a lot. We did go open up some more, so you would go to jjthecpa.com. Thank you to everybody who has scheduled a consultation with him, and it's been so nice to see how much that he has helped so many businesses, and they have really enjoyed their conversations. The 12-week JJ the CPA group is going off smashingly well. We just finished up week 2. Next week we'll begin week 3. So that's exciting. Hi, Karen the CPA, and hello, Mac. And I think I saw Fred on there, and Gina Eddie, hello, hello. And Jason from Darkwater Megs. Well, it's actually Mrs. Darkwater Megs. Hi, I'm so glad that you came on. Yes, Glenda, have a drink for us.
That's
and
Friday.
Kathy, I told them we weren't having one because you weren't feeling well. Hi, Kathy, I'm so glad that you have. Yeah, we haven't been live for a while. It's just life and children and responsibilities and being sick, and you know how it goes. It's just life. So we really appreciate all of you guys taking your time out to come see us. We have missed you, but I think the man is ready for you since we are not going to be on for a long time. No, he does not have COVID. He does not have the monster, but he does have a little bit of a stomach bug that's going around. So, without further ado, it's JJ the CPA.
Oh, well, thank you, Amanda. How's everybody doing today? Oh, I left my readers in the other room. Hope everybody's doing well today. I stepped over to grab something to drink, but I heard Wayne is on with us, Goddozer, PB. We have something to show everybody here in a little bit once I get my readers on, and Mrs. Darkwater Megs and Glenda, which maybe then Leah is on as well. Happy Friday to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. And yes, we have not been live as much. I do anticipate that we will get back on our regular schedule. We have been throwing around a little bit of doing I don't know if daily, but I'm noticing there are some other YouTube channels that are doing daily updates. I don't know if they're necessarily providing new information every day, but it seems like there's other YouTube channels that people are enjoying that person providing a daily update. And I think my channel, I've been focusing in on, unless there's something to say, unless there's some value to add, I'm not coming out with videos just for the sake of coming out with videos. But I do know that there's some that have shared with me that they, which I really appreciate it, but they listen to me as like on their drive into work or something to that effect. And so anyways, Tony, what's up?
So we have Card Shop Reality
Oh,
on.
CSR.
And Jean McIntyre, obviously.
Jean.
Valerie Clark.
Valerie.
Shannon and Rob from Imagine That Toys is on.
Shannon,
Tony
Vic. Tink.
Tink.
Tink, what's going on, my friend?
I have to say hi to Tink.
Hey, Tink. Yeah, Tink, we were just telling everybody I've not been feeling that great. I did 3 days of seminars, and I think I overdid it. I did, and then I did a seminar all day Monday, and then we didn't go live Monday, correct?
Right.
Because I was also right after that doing our Tink. I said right after that we were doing our Tink.
Doing your 12-week group.
doing my 12-week group right after, and this 8-hour seminar. So I was teaching some CPAs in Dallas. I did that all day Tuesday, all day Wednesday, went to work yesterday, got ready, wasn't feeling that well, and I got to the office and had to leave very quickly, and things were coming up. Didn't even make it all the way home. So anyways, I've been home today. I was thinking, well, maybe I'll make it in, and I did not. So we have been being a little bit productive though, because we are moments, or I should say like one last thing from loading up my new book that will be coming out. Now I will tell you this, JJ the CPA here, Cracking the CPA Code, so it'll be my second book. And I've been working on this book since May of 2018, and I pretty well finished it right before COVID. And then it was like, well, it's not gonna make any sense to come out with this book during COVID. And of course we got busy with that. And then I was reading what I thought was my final version probably 4 weeks ago, wrapped it all the way up. And I was like, all right, we're done. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna add a little bit more to this, and it's now double the size.
Yeah, he didn't add just a little bit.
Yeah, it's now double the size, but it is uploaded, everything. Now we will just be waiting on Amazon to do its review in terms of making sure there's no plagiarism or stuff that shouldn't be sold by Amazon, which there's none of that. But this book here is probably not what people would think. In the sense that it is how to do business with a CPA. And so with that in mind, because a lot of you out there aren't necessarily trying to do business with a CPA, that's not why you're tuning into JJ the CPA, which I'm so glad that you did today. And by the way, we have to let everybody know what our word is for the day, because even though I'm drinking water, we need to keep with tradition that Friday is happy hour. And we do like to have a word of the day so that those that are partaking by the pool, sometimes I think, would you say Glenda's gotten a drink? I know, I don't know if Karen has a drink, but anyways, nonetheless, this book is how to do business with a CPA, how to get referrals, do's and don'ts and things to that effect. And so I have already started writing. I've got the outline, and I've probably more written up here than I actually written down. But it is something we had talked about, JJ the CPA, by the numbers. And it was, I had started writing a book by the numbers when we were gonna head out on tour. I kind of abandoned the idea by the numbers. It just seemed too much like a textbook. And long story short, I've scrapped that. And now I feel like I think really the message in this will be finding safety coming out of a crisis. And I've even got chapters in there that will be somewhat about, the psychology behind it. So it'll be a little bit of Group 300 minorly, even though it won't probably reference it per se, and by the numbers and cash flow and things to that effect. And so anyways, I'm going to try and fast track the third book and get her done. And that's why I'm saying it here, because then it'll hold me accountable. That's right. That's right.
But as your social media marketer and manager of all things JJ CPA, we're focusing on book 2, right?
Yeah, this is true. We're going to focus on book 2. This is JJ the CPA Nation. I don't know. I think probably most of you caught the video that we did Wednesday night. Coach.
Yeah, and a lot of people have been saying that they loved it. Shannon was one. She said, I loved
thank
the
you.
video. So.
Thank you. Tink, I don't know if you caught the latest video. If you're still with us, it's the last one I did, because I don't think I did one yesterday, right?
It's called the urgent update from Coach, and everybody should watch that, and they should be sharing it as well. Not just watch it, but share it, because we need to all come together from this.
Yeah. Now I do bring in the full Coach, but I will tell you a little funny story behind the scenes, and then do we have some questions piling in? Behind the scenes of that video, we were going to put together a Coach's video, and I kind of I don't really pre-write anything, but I kind of outlined this motivational speech. And you and I were talking okay, we'll do it multi-angle, and we were gonna premiere it Thursday night. And I was like, well, I do need to do a video for Wednesday. And I said, there's nothing really going on. It's August 19th, but I'm gonna go ahead and let everybody know there's not really anything going on, and here's why. And if you listen to the beginning of the video, which you did if you watched it, but I even said, I'm gonna try my hardest not to put this together in a explosive manner. Thank you, Kathy. And anyways, I think because we were talking about Coach, we were talking about
the fire
it just kept going.
That's
and then
our word of the day, Coach.
Coach, there we go. No, cracking the CPA code.
Okay.
Let's do cracking the CPA code.
Okay.
But what I realized during the video, that I need to hold it up longer?
No, I was going to tell you something else. But okay.
When I was doing the Coach video, I started thinking they're gonna come back because of the mail? And then so Amanda is in the other room, and what were you doing when were you just reading?
I was just on Facebook.
You were just on Facebook, and she starts to hear me get louder.
I stood up,
so she sat up.
I needed to come down.
Starts listening, and she's like, is on the phone with somebody? What is going on? Anyway, so she came, and she didn't peek her head around the corner, but she came and listened, and she realized I was finishing up video. But then as soon as I was done, I turned around and gave her a big smile, and I said, let's go to dinner. Yeah. And I said, we're not going to do the Coach's video for tomorrow. Huh?
And I gave you a beer.
You did give me a beer. So I don't know. I'm glad we did it, because I wasn't going to be able to put anything together yesterday.
Yeah.
So that was the universe coming together. So a couple of quick updates, which is there isn't one from the standpoint of the Senate may have been giving this signal that, senators are returning to Washington. There was a Senate hearing with the Postmaster General for the United States Postal Service, and in essence, he indicated that they're not going to make any changes or any cuts. And so I don't know if that just got blown completely out of proportion, or maybe there was a conspiracy to slow the mail down so people couldn't vote. I don't know. I doubt it, but I don't know. And let's see. let's see. But where we are right now is that Mitch McConnell has not signaled, he's the Senate Majority Leader, he's not signaled at all that the senators are coming back. Right now, it sounds as though the Democrats are now kind of pushing for Pelosi, Speaker of the House, to come back to vote. It seemed as though they were all heading back in the House to vote this weekend, but Wednesday, the Speaker of the House, Pelosi, had a conversation with the Postmaster General, and the Postmaster General said, well, we're not going to make any changes. But I guess the post office needs more money, so they're going to come back and vote. But I don't think they have voted on anything in terms of, or I'm sorry, I don't think they're planning on voting on anything. The Senate, and I don't know if this is just like massive negotiation tactics going on right now, but the Senate proposed a weaker bill than what the HEALS Act was, and I thought it was kind of a interesting, dumb political move, if you will. But they've indicated in this latest skinny bill, as it's being called, no stimulus checks. Now, I don't know if that's because the stimulus checks are kind of a no-brainer, but this seems odd to me. Where we're at right now is this just realities that the Democrats in the House passed the HEROES Act. It was $3 trillion. The Senate didn't pass anything. Their HEALS Act was $1 trillion. The Republicans are saying they just want to do $1 trillion. So the House won't back down because they want $3 trillion. The Senate won't back down because they only want $1 trillion. The only reason I'm saying any of that is that what is common ground in everything that they've been talking about, HEROES Act and the proposed HEALS Act, is the $1,200 stimulus checks. $2,400 for 2 adults in a house, $500 for kiddos, and also common ground related to the unemployment other than how much will be provided each week. I think what I find frustrating is if you are without a job, obviously you want the most that you can get. But waiting around for zero doesn't help anybody. So if they're gonna land on, Republicans say 200 and the Democrats say 400 and they come in at 300, which is what Trump put into an executive order, then let's just do it. Let's get it over with. I do think because the Democratic National Convention was going on this week, of course, there's a lot of activity politically on the Democrat side, of course, that going towards that. Next week is the RNC, the Republican National Convention, so I'm sure there's going to be a lot of energy put to that, which we all know it's foregone conclusions. It's 4 nights and a lot of pomp and circumstance, which, if that's your party, you have fun with it. The Democrats, they probably love tuning in to DNC. Republicans love tuning in to RNC, see all the superstars. Nonetheless, it's almost like, even though virtual, it feels a little bit like, at least to me, at least to the people that I'm interacting with, it's like, does this really actually matter right now when you don't have a stimulus package? Do you really need to be, whatever the dollars are spent, it doesn't even matter that it's virtual, but the amount of activity, the thought that's going into both conventions, while I understand it's very traditional and that's how it works, and quote unquote, we have to select the parties have to select who their presidential candidate is going to be, but we're in the middle of a pandemic, and it's almost like politicians have forgotten about that and just, they got to get reelected. And so really the message, if you didn't catch it, the video is, regardless if you're Republican or Democrat, regardless if you're represented by a Republican or Democrat, if that Republican or Democrat, even if it's an opposing party or your party, is not doing anything right now, it seems like to me, they should just be getting out of office. And I know that there's a lot of power play because the Republicans want to keep the White House, Republicans want to keep the Senate, the Democrats want to keep the House. I get all that. And at the same time, I had this image in my mind this morning when I woke up, and it was, it happened to be one of the prominent, it wasn't the president, but it happened to be one of the prominent politicians that's in one of the most powerful positions. And the image that came to mind was they were walking around basically the ruins of a burnt down house. And if you've watched me, you know I use that analogy a lot, but it was like the entire house was burnt down, and they were walking through and they just had this big smile on their face, and they lifted up something that was burning. Maybe this was a dream. But anyways, they lifted up something that was completely almost burnt to a crisp, and they say, "But we won." So where was I this morning? I didn't go anywhere this morning. It must have been a dream now that I'm saying all that. It must have been a dream. Anyways, and I just thought, gosh, I mean, is that really what is going to happen here? Is that everybody will be able to say that they claim victory, and then they're going to turn around and go, oh gosh, the house is burned down all behind us, but oh well, we're now still in power, or we gain power, or whatever the case is. So to me, the overall message, Glenda said you dreamed that. The overall message, I think, for me is, if they're that concerned about the post office, if whoever's in power here, it's such a hubbub, such a crisis about the Postmaster General, then why was that? It didn't have much in my mind to have anything to do with making sure people got their medicine, even though I would get that, okay, well, yeah, if the mail's not running, people aren't getting their medicine, but I didn't think that was really what was going to happen, that the postmaster was shutting down the post office. Nonetheless, it's about getting the vote. And yes, the vote is important. Absolutely. Vote's very important. Couldn't be more important. So here's my message. Then let's freaking make sure our vote counts.
Yep.
Let's make sure that our vote counts. And, you know, from my perspective, it's just, sometimes one phone call probably represents thousands of the constituents, meaning like how many people actually call their senator or their congressman anymore? Not that often. How many fax them? Cindy with Spin Pedal Studios said that she had been faxing, because she's like, I mean, no one ever faxes, so someone's going to read it. Sending an email, a tweet, because the staffers, you know, they're at least paying attention. It's like, hey, we got 15 calls today telling us to do 1, 2, 3. So this must be something that's a priority, because we got 15 calls, which probably means, you know, 15,000 of our constituents are concerned about this. So we need to send a message somehow, some way. And I don't at all think it has anything more to do than just doing a little nudge to whoever represents you. A call, a fax, an email. What's easier than a tweet? You know, it probably takes you longer to just figure out who your person is that represents you, to then figure out what their handle is on Twitter. But if you go to the United States Senate.gov or Senate.gov, you go to House.gov, it'll have maps. You find out who it is. You go to their page. And of course, they have all their social media icons there. So before we get into the questions, we have to say yes.
Are you going to do it? I think you're going to do it because everybody's asking questions about it. Okay.
So,
CSR, pay attention.
So, yesterday, you brought home, we got these 2 big boxes, and we were like, what in the world? And Patty B had emailed to say, hey, by the way, I'm sending you a gift, and sent us the tracking. And so we knew that it had arrived. So you went back to the office to go and get it. And it's the sweetest gift, sweetest, thoughtful, coolest gift. So we have matching, look at these. These are noodles for the pool.
It's called the Ultimate Pool Noodle.
Ultimate Pool Noodle. And we have 2 of them. which are incidentally the colors of Wonder Woman and or Captain America. And look how big these are. I mean, these are
Thank you, Carrie.
huge. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Patty B. We love them.
Yes, thank you, Patty B.
Can't wait to try them out.
Yeah, and we will definitely take some pictures when we are in the pool
Right. Yes.
with them. And they're gonna go really well with, I don't know, for our diehard,
Yeah.
wonderful JJ the CPA family members here. They know that I shot a video, because I think it's only got like 600 views,
Yeah.
something like that. But I shot a video several weeks ago, and thank you again, Patty B. It was so thoughtful of you. I really appreciate that. We sent Patty B a special video to say thank you. But if you saw that video that I did in the pool, I had a rubber ducky. Tink, if he's still on, Tink's been to my pool, so Tink knows. But I have not rubber ducky, an inflatable duck, right? Like a little life preserver that's got a duck and a floaty. And if you want to see that video, if you go to my list of videos, you'll see Amanda has a picture of me in my white hat and that rubber, or that blow up duck. Anyways, I grazed the duck with my cigar because I was smoking a cigar. It was a Sunday. I grazed it, and then it's, okay, yes, Tink remembers the duck. I grazed it, and as now I'm filming it, the duck does this and dies, and then I literally have to take this deflated duck, throw it. Anyways, I got a brand new duck, but it is now a JJ the CPA level duck for sure. So, well, hey, we've got 28 thumbs up. Thank you so much for that. And yeah, rest in peace to old Ducky. That's right. All right, what questions do we have, the Amanda?
Marissa.
What's up, Marissa?
I have one employee that resigned due to covered period, no salary reduced. Can I file the easy form, or do I have to file the long form filed Schedule C, A, PPP, WS, where there is a box for FTE exemption?
So my recommendation to you is that in the easy, it's actually on second page, and it talks about like who qualifies. And if you actually don't have a haircut from that, then you can use the easy. What I would recommend is, I doubt that there would be an inquiry on this, but the banks have been so far very inconsistent and kind of, you know, I don't know about banks around here, but I've just heard the dumbest things that banks are asking for. Nonetheless, if you have a copy of the resignation letter, or somehow you can show documentation, I mean, a letter would really be best from that individual. If you didn't get a letter from them, then, I mean, if they resign, see if they'll come and sign a letter. Long story short, if you have that, you have proof that they resigned, then you've met the safe harbor, and therefore you don't need to file the long form. You will sign the declarations that are on the easy form, the same as the other one, and on there you're declaring that there are no actual haircuts. So as long as you have that documentation, and I think the bank as well as the SBA would be welcoming the easy. Again, the only reason to file the other one is if you have a haircut. And by the way, I will be then doing additional videos on the forgiveness. I've kind of been waiting for the banks and the SBA, and then of course I was out not feeling well last week, the speeches, and then this week. So I'll be doing some fresh series, and then I think I had announced it last time, but I will be doing a Zoom video that I will put up on YouTube later. There'll be no cost to it, but for those that tune in all the time, if you want to send me an email, jj@jjthecpahelp.com, JJ at jjthecpahelp.com. And if you put Zoom in it, we'll add you to our newsletter list, and then we'll be sending out an email. And I'm going to do 2 different Zoom meetings. One will be going over the EZ, and the other will be going over the long form. And then I'll also put it up on YouTube. So if you can't make the Zoom, the benefit of being on the Zoom is that you would be able to ask some direct questions during the Zoom. But knowing that the entire Zoom is going to get put up on YouTube with no, not going to be any edits to it. So, all right, thank you for the question. Thanks for tuning in. Got more. We got 34 thumbs up.
Gina. Have a small business owner wondering what documentation is required to prove the inability to return to a pre-February 15th level of business. Any insights? The SBA guidance is extremely vague.
Yeah, and in some ways I wouldn't mind it remaining vague in this area, because we don't want the SBA to try too hard to try and come up with thresholds and comparisons. I think what it really will come down to is 2 things. One, I would be looking at what are your gross receipts. And so when you're looking at your comparisons, I know that their SBA is focusing a lot on returning to however many employees you had on February 15th, and also that short period of time right after that. But if you are showing, I would even put it, an income statement that's January 1st, 2019, all the way back, right? And if you have a month by month income statement showing that your collections were this, your gross receipts, same thing as this, and then it started to drop and it's dipped and it's not returned to the same levels as the prior year, that would be definitely a way to show that you're not able to return. The other part is, and I think in addition to that, and I'll say this too, and in this 12-week course, Wayne is on with us today. He's a patriarch of a phenomenal family. I mean, this guy needs to write a book. His entire family is entrepreneurs, and his adult children do business with him in the sense of they still have a great relationship with all their adult kids, because that's not typical. Anyways, in this 12-week course that I've been doing, we've been walking through some of these things. But even if you just took your bank statement for your business and you're able to show your collections, so if for some reason you don't have a sophisticated set of financials or income statement, even though that's be optimal, that can show month by month, your bank statement can show that. But then also, what can be proven here is that the cash flow isn't the same. So sometimes when you're looking at your bank statement of what you collected, let's just say in July, it doesn't necessarily, depends on your business, doesn't necessarily mean that's what you made in July. Let me clarify this. So if you're the type of business where you did the work in May or in June, which for me, there's a little bit of lag from when I do the work to when I get paid, maybe a week. So you might have done work in May and June, but you're collecting it in July. So if you have one of those kind of businesses, it might be that it's a little longer lag, but I think if you're showing a hint of that. I think the other part is that if you are replacing that person, that's okay, meaning you've returned to the number of FTEs. But if you haven't replaced that person, meaning you haven't replaced the employee at all because of the unfortunate circumstances, that's also a huge indicator. And you haven't given yourself a raise, meaning it isn't, well, I got rid of this employee and then I gave myself a raise. Well, that doesn't going to show anybody that you're, not doing well. So I would think that that is what a bank would understand. That's what the SBA would understand, other than explanations that go along with that. Now, there could be a number of extenuating circumstances where, you lost the location, because I'm not saying you, but if you lost the ability to do location in a specific office because you couldn't continue to pay the lease. If there's other things that you can show directly an impact, but I think what the SBA and the banks, because the banks have first say in how much is going to be forgiven, they're going to understand financials and bank statements and numbers, or concrete, like I can't go do business here anymore, or here's a customer that I had that it was 10% of my revenue and they're now no longer in business. So, all right, well, thank you for that and best of luck. Cracking the CPA code, those of you that are parched and need to have a drink, there we go. That's the name of my upcoming book. We hope it's out by this time next week. What's next?
Guns N' Roses.
Guns N' Roses. Guns N or Guns For?
Guns N.
Tink and I know Guns For Roses. It is a cover band out of Dallas. And Amanda. Amanda knows them too. Amanda and I have seen them up close.
Well, I was just being left out.
I know, I'm
needed
sorry.
attention.
You can tell I'm not even talking as clear as I normally do. But anyways.
Are funds distributed to partners from PPP funds taxable? Thank you.
Say it again.
Are funds distributed to partners from PPP funds taxable?
Oh. Boy, that is a really good question. Okay, so PPP funds went to a partnership, and now those funds are being paid to the partner. So I do know this is a really good question. The short answer is that it's not that it's taxable, it's that it's not deductible to the partnership. So the one thing is that PPP allows you to calculate the forgiveness for the partners based on 2019. So this is the number one part of the calculation for you having a partnership, or your customer has a partnership. So whatever their 2019 K1 is, box 14, you take that divided by 12 times 2.5 times 92.35%. That is then the amount that gets to be included in the forgiveness amount. But then any distributions, because that's really what it would be, or guaranteed payments that are paid down. Well, we know that distributions aren't taxable, right? You get a distribution from a partnership, it's not taxable, because what you pay tax on is your distributable share of whatever the net income is. Meaning the net income could be $100,000. If you're a 25% owner in that partnership, you're gonna get a K1 for 25 grand, even if you didn't get a dime. So from the standpoint of the amount of dollars that you are paying out to a partner, we know that that's not taxable in itself. We know that that's just a quote unquote distribution. However, I don't believe that you would want to distribute to that partner properly anything more than what would be included in the forgiveness, meaning 2019 divided by 12 times 2.5 times 92.35%. So with that being said, that's not a deduction to the business, because paying out distributions is not a tax deduction. If you pay the partner a guaranteed payment, it is going to achieve the same thing as in includable to the extent of 2019. That will now be taxable to the partner because it's a guaranteed payment, and it won't be deductible to the partnership because anything PPP money is used for, it then erases that deduction. And so here's my overall recommendation on is if the partner is not paid a guaranteed payment normally, they just receive a distribution, they can receive a distribution to the extent of K1 box 14 divided by 12 times 2.5 times 92.35%. That'll be the forgiveness amount. That's the amount that can be paid to them. and that'll be then achieving forgiveness. It's just that distributions are never a deduction. So that would be the way I would do it. I wouldn't do it as a guaranteed payment unless the partnership is already doing guaranteed payments. And the reason why is that it has then made that taxable to the partner by being a guaranteed payment. But remember, distributions are not deductible in the first place. So that's really why, in a very backwards, working back into the math, it ends up being that it is taxable, not dollar for dollar. It's just that it's not a deduction to the business, whether guaranteed payment, whether a distribution, and therefore it'll just depend on how the business ends up for 2020 in terms of what's the net income otherwise. So if you had a husband and a wife, two partners, they owned a partnership, they have no guaranteed payments to themselves, they got PPP, and there was just a simple example, nothing else was out of the ordinary, they got the PPP. And the PPP was 2019 K1 box 14 divided by 12 times 2.5 times 92.35%. If that's what they got, and then that's what they distributed, that would even itself out. There would be no tax consequence to the partner, as in they're not recognizing as income. The partnership didn't use it for anything else that it otherwise would be deducting, and it achieved full forgiveness. So that's a great question, because I've never had it asked and I've never walked through that calculation. So that would be a really good video for that. So where are we at with it? Because I can go back to this and refresh myself. Where are we at? How many minutes into our live are we? So I can go back to it.
We are at, guess you can't see.
Oh, you can't see? Okay, well, it is 4:39.
4:39, yeah,
Okay.
that's gone off of my screen.
Okay. Tink said something.
He said, gotta run, gotta study more price action trading, the two-legged pullback. Love you guys. Bye, Tink.
Bye, Tink.
Valerie Clark.
Hey, Valerie, how are you? Thanks for being on and cracking the CPA code. Grab yourself a drink. What do we got?
Are you doing PPP forgiveness for customers yet? I'm waiting till you give the green light to for applying for the PPP.
So we are going to start preparing those next week, but I will tell you this. For me, I'm going to try and hold off to actually submitting it to the banks until the Senate and the House do a stimulus bill, but I thought we would have had one by now. So my original strategy was we were going to start on gathering up the information from clients and helping them if they chose to have our help, and submit it next week or the following weeks. So I'm holding out hope that we'll be able to get through a stimulus bill, because if they are going to, they being the government, if they're going to provide any kind of additional relief, then I think we would know it through this stimulus act. I know that what's been thrown around, but a bill hasn't been turned into law since, but I know that there's been, Congress has said, hey, shouldn't we just make, a certain dollar amount or less just automatically forgivable? So the only reason that I would be waiting is a lot of my clients got under $100,000. I think only a handful of my clients got above the $150,000 threshold. Most of them got below that. So it certainly would save a lot of time and hassle in gathering up documents, filling out applications, interacting with the banks, going back and forth with the banks, and then be a back and forth probably with the SBA. Now, I'm sure if we put in application for forgiveness and later the SBA was told by the government, the law, hey, you know what, below this amount are just automatically forgiven, I'm sure that all those applications for forgiveness would just drop, but it would be a little bit of wasted effort. Oh, it looks like Cindy's on. We'll make sure we get to her question. But with that being said, I think that you can go ahead and put it together. Now, the one exception I would have, and I think I only have 3 clients that file Schedule Cs, the self-employed, sole proprietor, independent contractor. If all you have is, it's a Schedule C, line 31, divided by 12 times 2.5, fill out the Easy app, hand in your Schedule C. There's no difference from your Schedule C from when you got PPP to when you are applying for PPP. That one's so straightforward, I don't know why, if you really just wanted to get it over with, you couldn't just do that one and hand it in, because it's not necessarily a lot of extra time and effort. But from my perspective, it still may be that it's just going to be, hey, you don't even have to worry about it. Now, you are Schedule C. I just saw pop up that you should be achieving full forgiveness anyway. So whether they say poof under a certain dollar amount, you don't have to fill out any documentation. I don't know that that by waiting you're achieving anything other than you're just not now in the system and all the hassle of it. So let me just say it another way. Even for the handful of clients that have a Schedule C, I'm still going to wait and see. Now, if Congress doesn't do anything and we're hitting the end of next week or into the following week, and it now seems like they're not coming back until after Labor Day and mid-September, then I would anticipate we'd be handing in. So I appreciate the question, and I will be, as I'm putting out those videos, I'll be indicating probably in there, and then I'll probably do a special video that says, okay, hey, we're now submitting. So thank you for that. Cracking the CPA code. Everybody take a drink.
Carrie, I'm an independent contractor, self-employed stylist, and unfortunately I have COVID.
Ah, well, I'm sorry to hear that.
What kind of documentation do I need to take tax credit?
Yeah, well, I'm sorry to hear that. So absolutely, I love it that, not that you have COVID, but I love it that you're aware that you get a tax credit. And here's the deal. You're going to get a $5,110 potential tax credit. That's the maximum. It doesn't automatically happen. But on that, you just simply need something from a medical professional indicating either that you have it, which would be a test result, or a medical professional that recommends you quarantine yourself for 2 weeks. So we had someone in our office and they had the medical professional indicate that they needed to quarantine, and we have a copy of the test result. So that automatically allows that person, me as the employer, but automatically the 10 days worth of that tax credit. And the tax credit that you're looking at is out of the Family First Coronavirus First Response Act. And I will be brushing up on some additional videos on that now that we're kind of where people are going to be interested in it as they go into third quarter. But here's the weirdness of the tax credit, okay? So if you're self-employed, you aren't able to use Form 7200 like an employer. So you're not able to fill out a Form 7200 and send that to the IRS and get a check, unfortunately. For the self-employed, it'll be when you go to file your tax return for 2020. So you're not going to actually fully experience this until you file your return. However, the tax credit does reduce down your quarterly estimated tax payments. Now, I'll tell you this, I work with some wonderful stylists, and typically they look at, okay, well, what was my estimates? What was my tax last year? What do you think is going to happen this year? And usually if they're established, they've been around a while, it's like, okay, then go ahead and pay this every single quarter. And so for the stylists I work with, unless they just really surge in activity, but the stylists I'm working with, they've been doing it for a while. Their income is fairly predictable, which is wonderful. But what I did with those stylists that were closed down, as I said, you're not paying in anything July 15th. You don't need to pay in a first or a second quarter. So where you realize the relief immediately is with the estimated tax payment that's coming due in September 15th, and then potentially also on January 15th of 2021. Point is that you can reduce down what you need to pay in based on the anticipated tax credit. Now it'll take a whiteboard, so keep an eye out for, I will be doing, because I have not yet done a video for the self-employed for these tax credits. So that video will walk through, because I'll need a whiteboard to walk through the math. Just know this, keep that letter, your test results, and whatever your self-employment tax is for the year, okay, a portion of that will be basically credited. And what is that portion? Well, if I really were to simplify it down, you would take whatever 2020's Schedule C line 31 is times 6.2%, and that will be your credit compared to $5,110. It's going to be the lower of. So if 6.2% of your 2020 Schedule C is $6,200, just if you netted 100 grand, then 6.2% is 6,200. Well, the maximum credit's $5,110, so you'd get a credit of $5,110. If your Schedule C, to use easy math, for 2020, so this time next year, is 50,000, well then your tax credit's 3,100, because that would be in essence the maximum. So at the end of the day, if you have it, hopefully you get over it quickly. I know you'll have to quarantine yourself. Obviously you're gonna lose revenue. Make sure you are getting that credit. And not at all am I saying that your tax preparer may not be aware of it, but I would be giving them a heads up by just saying, hey, will you put in my tax file that I have COVID and I know that I qualify for the sick leave credits. Here's a copy of my documentation. Will you put it in my file? Now you want to retain it too. And then that allows them to come back to tell you to go, well, we don't know anything about it, or we don't know how to do it, or you don't qualify, which then means you need to find somebody else. The reason I'm telling you this is let them know you have it now. You can even ask them. I wouldn't be offended if a client asked me. I'd be surprised if they did, but I think you can just say, hey, are you guys helping? You're my CPA, you're my tax professional, you're my EA. Are you helping clients with the sick leave tax credit for self-employed? I'm assuming yes, but I have it. Please put a note in my tax file. Here's the documentation I believe that you need. And then get your tax documents to them as soon as you can in January so that they can get that figured out, because it's going to be unusual most likely for most EAs and CPAs to be dealing with it, which also means that it might not be dealt with until later in the tax season, which then you might get pushed into extension. But if you give them enough time, and they may be all over it. They may be like, oh yeah, we're on it. We know exactly what we need to do. But then the follow-up is, should I reduce down my estimated tax payments for third quarter? That's the real reason to email them now, is to say, I have it, put it in the tax file, want to make sure you're dealing with it. I'm sure that you are, but should I be reducing down my third quarter estimated tax payments? And then, you know, if they are familiar with it, you should get, you know, an idea that they are. And don't freak out if they're not familiar with it yet, because I'm telling you this, no one has been doing this calculation. Probably a lot of the tax preparers have been so busy they're not even aware of it. You're way ahead of the curve because you've been tuning into my channel, which I appreciate. So don't freak out if they don't know about it. You're more asking, will you be helping me with this particular issue when you hit tax time? That way you're not surprised.
We have 8 minutes left.
All right, so who else do we have? And I do want to make sure we get to Cindy's question.
Wayne Griswold.
What's up, Wayne?
We are setting up some LLCs. Should I choose member managed or manager managed? What are the tax reasons behind the choice?
Yeah, great question, Wayne. So when you are filing the tax return for an LLC, you will be a member managed, but for tax purposes, you will want everybody to be what's called a limited partner. If you are a member managed and everybody's a member, of course, because that's how you set up the ownership, then your box one, so from your non-real estate activities, your box one will be automatically subject to self-employment tax. So in your operating agreement, you're indicating that the managers, or I'm sorry, you're going to indicate that the members are managing the LLC, but for tax purposes, you're electing that all of the partners be reflected as limited partners. So that is on the K1. I'm kind of getting way down the road for you, meaning to the time you're filing, but that's what you really want to know here. For tax purposes, you want to be a limited partner, which just means that box one is not automatically subject to self-employment tax. So great question on that. And Wayne's a part of my 12-week crew, and I know we'll be having a one-on-one, Wayne. We haven't emailed anybody to set those up, but I look forward to that. So great question. I really appreciate that. And cracking the CPA code.
I'll just jump to Cindy's. We have other ones, but I have a WWJJD question.
I love it.
My partner and I are not in agreement. We are able to host outdoor classes at some locations, which has brought in some revenue. I have been paying my landlord partial rent to avoid getting a giant liability after the eviction moratorium expires.
Yeah.
She feels like we should be holding on to that revenue. I've tried to explain that the rent is not going away, it's just deferred. What would JJ do?
Well, I think on this that my rule of thumb is cash is king. Hold on to it. Totally agree with you on it's going to be due. However, the moratorium is through the end of the year, at least if the president's sticks and somehow the states don't override it or something. But what I would recommend is one of two things. Either set up a separate new savings account and be putting money over into that for your purposes, you're thinking, okay, we're going to have to pay this rent eventually, so I'm going to go ahead and put money over into this savings account. Out of sight, out of mind, which is the same as if you paid it to the landlord, meaning it's out of your account. Then for your partner, your business partner, if you and she will, if you two, and her sister-in-law is her business partner, but if you two then see that there's money that's been building up in this savings account, at least you can have held on to it. And here's the other reason why, Cindy, is that I doubt it, I highly doubt it, that the government can say, hey, guess what, landlords, you're not owed rent. However, I do see relief coming somewhere down the road for back rent, where it would be potentially the landlords. This is pure hunch. The landlords would say, well, if you can't pay me, then go get this grant or go get this money from the government. So think of this, PPP included what? Rent. I mean, even though it was based on payroll. So I think where the crisis is going to happen in September and October, and it's just going to get worse and worse and worse, is on rent.
Bye, Fred.
We'll see you, Fred. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. I think where we're going to see the most need is in the real estate industry from the standpoint it hasn't been helped at all. I mean, could get some EIDLs. So anyways, you would hate to have paid anything to, what's up, Dave? anything to a landlord that you didn't otherwise have to pay because it's not due yet. You wouldn't want to have to pay to any third party if you don't have to. I like the idea that you want to set the money aside, but set it aside in a savings account. And then see when the moratorium is lifted, is there any relief in sight? And part of the relief, I could almost guarantee, is going to be, well, now you owe it all day one. You haven't paid rent for 6 months. Now you all day one, or we're going to evict you. I think, though, the government can't say to landlords, well, you can't collect whatever you can collect. So that's where I think we're going to see a crossroads that will then cause or force the government to come and help you, Michelle, help you and Michelle, from the standpoint of that rent. So just know this, my normal advice is what I just gave you. Hold on to the money as long as you can, set it aside, and hopefully that'll help. And this would be the best time to be also just saving some dollars, see what other relief can come, but this is also the worst time for us as small business owners to get into disagreements with our business partners, if possible, because we need our business partners more than ever now. And I get that business partners each have their own ideas, but I think that'd be a great compromise is what I'm saying, Cindy, is that you're still getting to put the money aside for rent, and then if something happens, you've got that money versus it just now, you blew it, you just gave it up. So, all right, we'll do 2 more quick questions. Thanks, Cindy. Cracking the CPA.
Melinda, is the end date of the 24-week period the actual end of the 24 weeks, or when you exhaust the PPP funds? By the way, the JJ the CPA T-shirt is awesome and great quality.
Well, thank you. Thank you for letting me know that. I really appreciate that, and thank you for grabbing one. Really, really appreciate that. So it is literally the end of the 24 weeks. So disbursement date plus 24 weeks. But you can hand in the application when you have exhausted the funds. So you still want to elect the 24 weeks on the application, still list literally the 24 weeks. There's no box to check. So you'll put the 24 weeks of time period down. But the SBA's put it in black and white that when you're ready to hand it in for forgiveness, you can. You'll still list the 24 weeks. You won't be under any of the obligations that are required under the PPP in terms of FTEs and things to that effect. And so that's when you can hand in the application, is when you're ready, which of course would be after the funds have been dispersed.
Mary Ann, my client has a dance school which normally doesn't have employees during the summer, so her FTEs are down. What should we do?
Well, you have until December 31st for the safe harbor. And so if everything goes back to normal during the school, my daughter's a dancer and is an instructor at the dance school now. She graduated from college in May with her BFA, her Bachelor's of Fine Arts. And she was going to go get her master's in Colorado, but COVID got in the way of that. And so anyways, she's a instructor for the school where she grew up in, maybe would like to have her own someday. But anyways, she's also, this week, came out of nowhere. She's now an instructor at a D1 college for one of their dance classes, which is just a huge kudo to her. And then she's been asked to come back and be a proxy instructor at the college that she graduated from, University of Central Oklahoma. So you have till the end of the year. And so what I would say to this is wait until the head count is back up, and then boom, hand in the forgiveness at that point, and you definitely meet all the safe harbor on that. Did we get everybody? A lot of M's today.
No, we didn't get everybody.
Can we go through them real quick? Or
Kathy, we have a client Schedule C sole proprietor with employees. Do we add the wages and payroll expenses to line 31 for PPP forgiveness? Haven't seen this issue addressed.
So This is Schedule C that has wages.
Client Schedule C, sole proprietor with employees.
With employees, yeah.
Do we add the wages?
No, unfortunately, so it's two calculations. You have the Schedule C, line 31, divided by 12 times 2.5. That's the forgiveness amount. That's the amount that would be included also in the application to get it. Then you would do the separate calculation, which is the wages that were paid, and run through that calculation. You can still use the EZ as long as there's no haircuts that are involved there. So good question on that.
Matt Washington, what about
What's
funeral?
up?
What about funeral expenses?
Well, funeral expenses, sorry to hear about that, would not be something you could use PPP funds for. Funeral expenses, if it was for an employee, I don't recall the dollar amount. It might be up to $5,250 that an employer can pay. I guess if you got EIDL, that might be considered, unfortunately, a business expense. It's not quite an ongoing, but that would be that. Now, funeral expenses, if you're paying them personally, don't yield a deduction, unfortunately. So sorry for your loss or whoever you're asking on behalf of.
Lauren, is it too late for the SBA grant loan?
No, not at all. Go today. Go right now. Go to sba.gov. You'll see the yellow strip at the top. Click on it. What you want to have with you is your most recently filed tax return. Anything that they ask you, pull from that tax return, addresses and things to that effect. One of the things they'll ask is what you grossed last year. And then they're going to ask you what your COGS are, your COGS. What we learn later is that the number you're going to put in for your COGS, which is your expenses, is just what is literally cost of goods sold, which would be literally materials that you would be buying and reselling. So if you were a hairstylist, you'd put your gross receipts for last year based on your tax return. And then if you bought and sold hair products, that would be your cost of goods sold. If you're a CPA, I don't have any cost of goods sold because I'm just providing a service. All right, we do have to wrap up here, but what else do we got? Thank you for the question.
Lauren, I'm a truck driver. How do I join your program?
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Oh, wants to join it?
The 12-week program we're not taking.
Yeah, so we closed it. JJthecPA.com, though, www.jjthecpa.com, and you can schedule a time to visit. That isn't the 12-week program. But once I'm done with this 12-week program, then I'll open up another one. And I might do a mini session. I don't know. I'm really having a lot of fun with the 12-week, though. But thank you for that.
Love.
Might talk a little louder. We've got some people doing lawn care out front.
I am owner's S corp, but I got PPP from Crossover Bank with 19 profit and loss statement and 18 11/20s. How should I go about forgiveness?
Yeah, you got it okay, but the forgiveness for S corp owners will only be based on wages. Very unfair. It's only based on wages. And of all the SBA documents that came out, the instructions, I was hoping that there would be some relief here. So what I'm telling you is the technically absolute correct way according to the SBA, which is wages paid to the S corp owners in 2019 divided by 12 divided by 12 times 2.5 plus the retirement benefits paid divided by 12 times 2.5, and then of course any other payroll. If you didn't have any employees and you didn't pay yourself any payroll, check with your bank to see if they know of an exception, but I'm telling you right now, I don't know of an exception. I don't believe you'd be able to achieve forgiveness because it's only based on wages and you can't follow anything related to a partnership. And in fact, in the FAQs that came out 2 weeks ago, the SBA specifically stated that the rules they're putting out follow however it files with the IRS, whatever tax return they're filing. So if you file an 1120S, then only wages can be included. I'm just saying, check with your bank, see if they know of something. Did we get everybody wrapped up? All right, well, thank you so much for being on with us. We got 44 thumbs up. If you didn't throw a thumbs up, if you would before you leave, that'd be great. Jean, thank you so much. Patty B, thank you for that. And thank you again for the wonderful gift. Thank you, Tony. I appreciate that. Have a great weekend as well. And we will be here on Monday. Before I do, thank you, Love and Stacy. Thank you so much. Good to see you, Stacy. You have a great weekend as well. We will be going live on Monday.
Yep.
Hopefully there will be some news. Maybe we're going to be surprised by who is going to be opening up the Senate. Glenda, thank you so much. Hearts to you as well. Thank you, Kathy and Darkwater Megs, Mrs. Thank you so much. Tell Jason we said hi. And everybody else, you have a wonderful weekend. Cindy, thanks for being on. Everybody else, I just see when they pop up, I think I'm seeing everybody.
Yes, and thank you,
and
Rob.
thank you, Valerie.
Rob for being on, and God.
Thank you, Rob. Christina, thank you so much.
And
yes,
Gina
thank you,
and
Goddozer
Shannon.
and Kelly. Yes, Goddozer, hope your wife had a great birthday. Thank you, Rob. And Rob, I'll be in touch with you. I haven't forgot about you. Just haven't been in.
Yeah, and Kelly and Christina and Fred.
Thank you, Fred. I really appreciate
Over
that.
and off.
All right. You all have a great weekend. I really, really appreciate you all. Thanks for the support. Thumbs up before you head out. And then if for some reason you haven't subscribed, which I think everybody on here has, but if you haven't subscribed, be sure to hit subscribe. Thank you, Gina. I really appreciate that.
And if you haven't watched
Enjoy
the
floats.
coaches video, make sure you
Oh,
go
yeah.
watch and share it.
Yeah, watch the coaches video for sure.
And share.
And share. Watch the coaches video and share. Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Well, you all have a great weekend. We thank you so much. Thank you, Shannon. Good to see you. Y'all have a good weekend.
Bye.
Bye-bye.